Let us help you reach your peak in retirement. It's time for Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee.
Hey everybody, welcome into the podcast. Thanks for hanging out here on Retirement Elevated with Sean and myself as we talk investing, finance, and retirement. And we got a quiz this week on the podcast, a little multiple choice quiz. You can play along with Sean, see how you do with some of these. And don't worry, the punishment is pretty easy. If you fail, all you got to do is give Sean a call. If you pass, all you got to do is give Sean a call and tell him, hey, I passed. Either way, that's your punishment, right? Sounds pretty good, buddy. What's going on? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Just hoping this air quality out here gets a little bit better. We're getting all the California forest fire air.
Right. Well, we made the punishment pretty easy for this quiz, and of course that's a total joke, right? But could have been worse. Could have been like, you're going to go outside and try to run. Of course, then you were like, well, maybe I shouldn't run outside. I should run on the treadmill, right?
Exactly. Put my dog on there and let him run with me.
There you go. Will they do that? Mine won't do that. I cannot get mine to get on the treadmill. They're totally terrified.
I have a feeling that if I were to do that, it would end horribly with me ending up like being thrown into the wall because I stepped on my dog and tripped, and treadmill shot me off one of those videos. But yeah,
I see people do that, and I'm kind of envious. I'm like, I guess it just takes time and patience, and maybe I don't have either. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I always get a little envious of that. And the people that can get their cat to do it, man, kudos there.
I don't think I've seen that one.
Because I've seen some cats on treadmills, and it's a trip. They're just kind of like, wow, because they're so obstinate, right? They just do what they want. So anyway, well, let's jump in and let's do a multiple choice quiz, and we'll stop talking about animals on treadmills. Basically, Sean, just give me what you believe is the right answer. What's your thought? This is pretty open-ended, pretty easy multiple choice quiz here. So, number one, what scares the average person the most about the idea of retirement? You've been doing this a long time, so just think about the average when people come in. Is it A, they don't know what they're going to do with all the free time? B, they don't know if they're going to have enough money and worry they'll run out. Or C, they don't know what will happen if they end up needing long-term care. On average, what's the number one answer?
Probably the question that I get asked the most is that, are we going to have enough money to retire? Right.
So B.
Am I going to run out of life before I run out of money? Or am I going to run out of money before I run out of life? And that unknown tends to be the scariest for people, but that's really just a math problem, right? I think one of the bigger questions is, what are you going to do with all your time? And having a clear idea of what you're going to do with your time in retirement is the harder part for a lot of people. The math is easy. The finance side is kind of just, here's what we got, here's what we're trying to solve. But then how do you fill all that time becomes more of a, I don't know. That's a lot.
Okay. So, I mean, for you, because you do this every day, right? So people coming in, they're saying, hey, I'm worried I'm going to run out. And then you can answer that question. You help them. You go through the math problems and so on and so forth. And then the real challenge in your mind, it becomes, okay, now how are we going to enjoy or, do things with our time? I think it's pretty fair because that's the opposite side of the table effect, right? Because you're used to seeing that, the math problem and solving those. Then it becomes really that personal freedom time in conversation. So,
exactly. How are you going to fill the space?
Yeah. All right. Good. I like that. Number two, what scares you personally, Sean, the most about the next coming years? The next, let's say, 5 to 10 years. A, inflation. B, rising taxes. Or C, stock market volatility.
Well, I'd have to say B again. Yeah, the rising taxes. And this is why, and I don't put a lot of thought into politics. I put more thought into policy. Because politics are politics. They're going to say whatever.
Right.
It sounds good at the time. But there's a couple of things that have gone on recently that make me believe that taxes will eventually go up. Lots of stimulus, huge infrastructure deal that's being pushed through right now. Already the talk has been, well, let's go ahead and change capital gains, cost basis. Those are in the proposals that have been floated. But at the end of the day, that's something that I think is really kind of a volatile discussion anyways. We're in a great tax situation right now as a country from what we're being charged tax-wise. Tax rates are extremely low. Do I think that they're going to go up? I think in some form or fashion they will. What that's going to look like, I don't know until policy starts being voted on. But that does bother me more than than inflation, because inflation is real. But historically, with inflation, rising interest rates come, and the stock market tends to do very well. At the end of the day, the stock market, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, right? All that volatility is going to continue to be there one way or another. So rising taxes are the biggest concern for me when I start to think about those three options.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think taxes is certainly on the radar for many people, and we just passed, or mostly passed, I guess, most of the way there on this 1.2 trillion infrastructure, and then they're trying to talk more, and it's like, basically when you're looking at all the COVID stuff, now we're talking like we're basically closing on $10 trillion in just the last 2 years.
Yep.
That's an insane amount of money. So, yeah, something to certainly think about there for sure. All right, number 3, moving along here on the quiz. How you doing, folks? You playing along? Are you getting these similar to Sean, or do you have a different concern? And again, there's no right or wrong answer. Whatever your concern is, whatever your concern, but are you then taking some action or doing something about it? That's the big question. Number 3, which tax situation best describes the average person, Sean, that they find themselves in retirement? Is it A, they're in a lower tax bracket than when they were working, B, they're in a higher tax bracket than when they were working, or C, they're in the same tax bracket as when they were working?
Usually C on average. So people want to make the same amount of money in retirement as when they're working, right? That's become comfortable. So I see most people want to stay within that same bracket or close to it.
Okay.
Just because of lifestyle needs. You get used to spending a certain amount, or you get used to saving a certain amount and having that certain level of income continue to come in. Initially having that mindset of, well, maybe I don't need as much money is a little bit scary. So they maintain the income levels that they previously had while they're in retirement. And then you can always shift it and adjust it. On the other side of that, depending on how your income sources are coming in, whether it's some Social Security or whether you got some Roth money, some IRA money, whatever it may be, how you withdraw your assets out matters. How you create that cash flow matters through all the different sources of income that you may have. So just through some strategic planning, you could potentially be in a lower tax bracket, but take home the same net amount.
Nice.
So that's the ideal, right? It's just, we want to, I don't care about how much I pull out. I care about how much net I get. So we want to keep the amount of income coming in that's consistent and comfortable, but do it strategically with some thought behind how do we reduce taxation if possible.
Yeah, I gotcha. Yeah, and I think on average that's probably a good way of looking at it, because maybe it used to be the case where people would hear these rule of thumb. Well, you'll be in a lower tax bracket in retirement when you retire. And maybe that used to be the norm, but I think the norm now is probably the same. You're typically in the same tax bracket because, to your point, who really wants to go backwards with their lifestyle once they get to retirement? That's the point of trying to figure out the math problem. So you can stay at least where you're at, or even maybe better. So something to think about for sure. All right, doing very well here on the quiz. Let's do, here's a good one. Number 4, Sean, how much money does the average person need to have saved to be able to retire comfortably? Is it A, $500,000, B, $1 million, C, $2 million, or D, this is a silly and pointless question?
This is a silly and pointless question.
Nice.
No, the reason that I say that, I don't know. I mean, everybody's going to have a different math problem, right?
Right.
So if I need $500,000 a year to live, I probably need more than $2 million saved. If I need $30,000 a year to live to supplement my Social Securities and pensions or whatever it may be, well, that math problem is different.
Yeah.
So it's all dependent.
Is different than what I need, so on and so forth.
Right. It's all dependent on what your needs are. If you can get away with, and you got $2 million saved, and you're pulling out, you got a nice dividend stream coming in, and it's giving you $100,000 a year, whatever, and that's enough. Well, that's enough.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it all comes down to what your needs are and how you can incorporate all the other planning options that are out there for you.
Well, it comes down to the income issue and the math problem of just what is the income revenue, and then, of course, the outcome, right? The income is the outcome. It's the expenses and the intake of money, right? So we get focused on this. Well, I need $1 million. I'm not going to be happy until I get $1 million or whatever. And it sounds like it's a nice big round sexy number or whatever, but at the end of the day, it needs to be really about what your income needs are based on the expenses that you're sending out. So
exactly.
Don't get too wrapped up in that specific what's your number kind of thing. All right, last one here, Sean. Which of these items do most people end up wishing they had more of? Is it A, life insurance, B, a Roth IRA, or C, aggressive mutual funds?
Well, I never heard anybody. Well, maybe I have. Somebody's passing away. That's I wish I had more life insurance so my family can take care of it have all that money when I die.
Okay.
Most commonly, the feedback that I get is, man, I wish I would have put more money into Roths.
Sure.
Because they're more tax efficient. I can get the money out tax free if I follow the rules, and that goes back in line with the question on taxes. Like, man, if I had these Roth IRAs, I could really get income out without having to worry about all these changes in future tax law. Mm-hmm. And so, with that, I like having the tax efficiency of being able to control the rates down the road. So I think the Roth IRA would be the one that we hear the most about.
Yeah, I think so too. There could be the life insurance could come in second. I doubt anybody typically comes in and says, or very rarely, hey, I want some more aggressive mutual funds. Maybe.
I've never heard it.
Yeah. So Roth IRA, being tax efficient really is what it comes down to. Especially since we know where we're at, the devil in what we know, so to speak. Right now, we know the taxes. We know they're probably going to hang out there for now until they get around to either making a change or letting them sunset in 25. So, I think that's where you can be. So, and again, if you've gone through and played this quiz with us and you find yourself thinking, oh yeah, I kind of wish I had, had a little bit more in the Roth IRA or whatever the case might be, then make sure you reach out and are talking with a qualified professional like Sean or a member of his team before you take any action. And of course, you can find them simply by going to the website elevatemyretirement.com. That is elevatemyretirement.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast while you're there. If you enjoy the content, would like to get new episodes as they come out, you can find all of that simply there on the website. You've got Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher, all that good stuff. Whatever platform you like to use, you can certainly find it. And again, reach out to Sean and the team if you've got some questions. Before you take any action, find them all at elevatemyretirement.com. All right, Sean, thanks for hanging out. You did pretty good. You passed the quiz. You shall be allowed to go run on your treadmill.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Don't run outside because it will be a little too dangerous right now. But go run on the treadmill, and we'll see you next time here on the podcast, Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee.
Investment advisory services offered through Elevated Capital Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor.